Schopenhauer spent most of his life alone, and he chose it. No one pushed him away. He withdrew from salons, from conversations, from expectations, because he had noticed something. When most people gather, they don't actually hear each other. They simply take turns speaking. That realization didn't isolate him, it freed him. But for most people, solitude doesn't begin that way. Most people fall into solitude after a breakup, after a disappointment, or simply while drifting through life without noticing. And at some point they find themselves asking, all this time has passed. Have I changed? Or am I just disappearing? What Schopenhauer discovered was this: solitude either breaks you, or it transforms you into something untouchable. But what determines which one happens isn't how long you've been alone, it's what you do inside that solitude. When you meet someone who has been alone for a long time, the first thing that gives them away is their silence. But that silence isn't empty, it's full. Because solitude is where the noise from outside goes quiet, and when that noise stops, what comes from within begins to be heard. Most people run from that inner voice. They take cover in noise, in social media, in screens, in crowds, because the voice inside usually says uncomfortable things. Schopenhauer called this the will, drives, desires, that deep hunger that is never satisfied. Most people live in submission to this will, either fleeing it or suppressing it. But the person inside solitude is forced to face it, and that confrontation changes a person. At first, that change feels like pain, because the first phase of solitude is the recognition of losses. What is real and what isn't begins to surface. Some friendships turn out to have no depth at all. Some relationships reveal themselves to be built not on presence but on need. Some dreams turn out to have been borrowed from other people. This awareness breaks a weak person, but it purifies a strong one. Over time, someone who has been alone for a long time starts to value different things. The things that once seemed important, other people's approval, the sense of belonging to a group, social status, grow blurry. Something else takes their place. Trust in one's own voice. This isn't easily won, because most of us lost our own voice somewhere inside the noise of other voices. We learned not what is right, but what is accepted. Not what is beautiful, but what is liked. Not what is valuable, but what is rewarded. In his work, Parerga and Paralipomena, Schopenhauer wrote plainly, most people lose themselves inside social life and never even notice they are lost. But solitude clears that fog. It's what drops the performance, what brings the mask down, what reveals whatever is left of you. And what is revealed, more often than not, surprises the person themselves. Because someone who has been alone for a long time finds far more inside themselves than they expected. The depth of their own thinking, the sharpness of their own observations, the capacity to notice what others walk past entirely. This is not a skill that's learned, it surfaces in silence. But here is where a dangerous turning point appears. Every person who has been alone for a long time reaches a moment of decision, conscious or not. In the end, that turning inward either becomes a source that feeds you or a darkness that swallows you. The difference isn't visible from the outside. Both look like silence. But inside, they are entirely different. The person who uses solitude to grow themselves gradually needs less, but draws more from everything. This isn't deprivation. It's a deeper capacity for pleasure. A single book is enough. A quiet morning is enough. A small beauty, a moment of noticing, a thought finally settling into place in the dark. That is enough. This person doesn't need a crowd, because there is already a crowd within them. And that inner crowd makes them different in social settings. They seem out of place, not outside the conversation, but not quite inside it either, because they have spent so much time in silence observing people that ordinary conversation now feels like a performance. They hear what lies beneath what's being said, but staying on the surface no longer comes naturally. Schopenhauer explained why. Social conversation is designed not to convey reality, but to maintain social comfort. People don't say what is true. They say what won't cause discomfort. The person who has been alone for a long time realizes they could play along. They simply no longer feel compelled to. That distinction makes them both freer and more foreign. They speak little, But when they do, there is weight to it. And that foreignness is almost always misread. Cold, they say, distant, arrogant. But none of these are accurate. This person isn't cold. They are selective. They haven't closed themselves off. They have become sufficient unto themselves. They aren't arrogant. They have simply lost the need for approval. And losing that need is the rarest form of freedom the modern world almost never understands. On the other side, the person who has made solitude synonymous with pain gradually folds inward. But that folding isn't deepening. It's freezing. The world looks meaningless. People look dangerous. Connection looks impossible. One person uses solitude as a place to return to themselves. The other uses it as evidence that the world has rejected them. So where does this transformation end? Schopenhauer's own life offers an answer. For decades, he was ignored by the academic world. His books went unread. His ideas were dismissed. But he kept working. He kept observing. He kept writing. Because he wasn't waiting for approval to arrive, he wanted understanding to deepen. The difference between those two things determines the quality of a life. Someone who has been alone for a long time eventually discovers this. What they need from others has diminished, but what they are able to give has grown. That sounds like a paradox, but it isn't. Because a vessel that is truly full doesn't need to be filled from outside, it simply overflows. These people build their relationships differently. They connect not out of fear, but out of want. The relationships they enter by choice are fewer, but deeper. Less is said, but more is understood. Less time is spent, but more remains. Solitude may have broken you, or it may have transformed you. But either way, know this. Someone who has been alone for a long time is no longer who they were. That person is either far less or far more. There is no in-between. In the world, as will and representation, Schopenhauer writes that while ordinary people seek out entertainment, socializing, and idle pleasures, those of superior intellect turn to solitude, because within them there is already enough world to sustain and satisfy them. Everyone who hears those words feels one of two things. Either that is me, and that recognition explains everything that has happened to them, or that is not me, which means they have not yet met solitude's true face. Which one it is, deep down, you already know.